Okay, so trompe l'oeil puzzles. You're going to take a subject matter. You're going to create it on a puzzle. You're going to remove one of the pieces. You're going to add some other real form in there. So step one, contour line drawing of your subject matter. Okay, so you're going to take your fist, place it where you want it, and outline. That's about the size we want for our puzzle piece. Okay, now if you are doing a different subject matter, then you can stop the tape and go to step 2 after you do a contour line drawing of it. If you want to draw the lion with me, we're going to start that now. Okay, so everyone's got their copy of the lion drawing? Because I know it's not showing up too well here on the video. For some reason, it's really dark. That's a little better. That's a little better. Okay. So the first thing is we're going to start with the oval that's going to determine your lion's head. So I'm going to use this one. So make a nice big oval for yourself. Okay. Second part, every animal that has a muzzle where the face comes out, you need an oval or a circle. So I'm going to look at my photo reference, and it's kind of a larger oval. I'm going to place that into. So we're going back to our shape drawing. Now we're going to look at our lion's nose. And it's a little past halfway. So I'm going to draw, right now I'm just going to kind of draw a triangle, just to make sure I get it placed where I want it. And then it's going to come down. And he's got like a little triangle below that. So the first part is we're just getting our proportions, our basic shapes and our proportions like we would do in any drawing. Now if I look at my reference, if I come up from the edge of his nose, that's where I'm going to find his eye. So I'm going to come up from his nose. Do that on both sides. So I know the eyes are going to be right about in here. You need 2 sheets of the white paper, the photo reference, tracing paper, blending tool, ruler, and pencil. Okay. So now I want to look at the detail of the eyes. And I notice it kind of curves up. And then it curves under. Now I'm not doing any shading at this part. I notice it almost looks like he's got black eyeliner, so I'm going to make that into a line at this point. I notice he's got a little white underneath his eye, so I'm just going to map that out for myself. But I'm not going to do any shading yet. I'm going to come over and get his other eye. And again, it kind of curves up. It's kind of rounded at the bottom. Now they're kind of even, so I kind of want to make sure I get it even, so I think I need to move this one up a little bit. Okay. And he's got a little of that dark around it, and then a little white space. Now they also have this kind of almost looks like a raindrop or a teardrop above their eyes. I'm going to add that. If I remember biology, something about that helps them see when it's really bright light. Okay, so it's just like a teardrop or a raindrop. And it's a little dark in the center. Again, I'm not shading. This is a contour line drawing at this point. Now, if I look at his nose, it actually curves up on the ends. So I'm going to add that. And it kind of jumps up a little bit there. And it kind of curves in like that. So now I'm kind of just putting a little detail into that original triangle shape. If I come down and look at his muzzle here, I'm going to follow my original oval a little bit and get the curve up to his nose. And again, it's a little darker in here, so I'm going to map out that value change. And I'm going to come in here and kind of show where his chin is. And I'm just kind of zigzagging it because I'm going to make it look furry. Now I'm going to keep the curve of that original oval here because I want to show that his muzzle kind of comes out. But I'm going to add a little diagonal lines to kind of meet it there. So this curve is kind of right where my oval was, and a couple diagonal lines. And now I've got to look at the contour of his face because I just made a big oval to start off with. But if I look at this lion, it starts about the middle of the muzzle, and it goes up, then it curves in, then it goes across, and it comes down. So it's not quite perfect oval. So I'm going to just let my pencil kind of follow along with that shape. Okay, now I can go back, once I've got I'm refining my shapes, I can come back and erase my original guidelines. I think I got this a little too wide, so I'm going to bring that in. Now I'm going to look for his ears. And they're kind of at the top of that shape, so I'm going to come over and make a little half circle. And it's got a little dark shape on the inside of it. And then the ears are pretty even, so I'm going to come over and do that over here as well. So since I'm keeping this a line drawing, my next step is just to kind of map out value changes. Like I see it's a little darker right in here. So I'm just going to kind of indicate that. I'm going to soften this line a little bit. And then I'm just looking for where his mane is. It's going to kind of come up here. I'm not going to draw each hair in his mane. I'm just going to kind of show where it goes. So it's going to kind of get wider here. It's going to come below his chin. Okay. I'm just going to kind of indicate where his mane is. Okay, now I have a contour line drawing, and I'm going to stop at this point. So it takes up about half my paper. Okay, I don't want to have it any bigger than that. If yours is a little smaller than that, that's fine too. But we just want to have a contour line drawing of our subject matter. So step 2, you're going to make a grid over your drawing. This is how I want you to do it. I want you to take your ruler and I want you to lay it diagonally. Let me put that. And then again, just diagonally over your piece, and I want you to use both sides of your ruler. We're not going to measure. We're going to let the width of our ruler make our puzzle pieces. So I'm going to come down. You want to extend beyond your contour line image. Come up here. Make sure I'm touching the edge. I want to make these as even as possible because I want to fool people into thinking they're looking at a real puzzle. I'm going to add one more right in here. Once you've done the one side, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to lay it down. You're going to go in the opposite direction and do that same thing. So I'm making a grid. Hold it so it doesn't move. And you want to go beyond your contour line image. Now you can make it perfectly even, like we're seeing the entire puzzle. I'm going to make mine a little more irregular so that I'm seeing a portion of the puzzle. If you remember the examples, the person who did the butterfly, they actually made their puzzle in the shape of a butterfly. So you have a lot of control over this. But we start with that grid. So I'm going to let this one go. I'm going to let this one go here. Let that one go there. So I'm not going to make mine an even square, but you can if you want. So right now this is where I'm going to start with, but I have that grid over my contour line drawing. So that's what I want you guys to do now. So you step 3, you're going to turn the grid into puzzle pieces. So think of when you've made a puzzle, right? They interlock together. There's a positive and a negative. And what I want you to do, okay, is everyone's eyes up here? Your next step after you have your grid is you're going to turn it into puzzle pieces. So I'm going to make a positive there and attach it to this one. That automatically makes a negative here. I'm going to make a positive here. Wherever I make a positive, I attach it to, because I want these little tabs to look like they belong to this piece. I'm going to make a negative one here. It's going to attach to this piece. And I'm going to come along, and on the edges, I can decide whether I want a positive or a negative. But I want to make sure that all of my pieces are connected by these little half circle tabs. Because that's what puzzle pieces look like. That's what they do. So I want you to come in and just take a few minutes and turn them into interlocking puzzle pieces. The more even you can keep your half circles, the more real your puzzle's going to look. Just making these tabs. And at this point too, you can erase puzzle pieces like on the edge. I'm going to let this one go. This one right here, I'm just gonna let it go. I have enough of the lion there, I don't need to show that. Okay. Okay, so you're gonna do that to every square you have in your grid. It's gonna become a puzzle piece. Now steps 4 and 5 go together. What I want you to do is move the puzzle pieces around the paper or composition. I want you to move at least one puzzle piece, but you can remove more than one. So here, I've already removed these 2 puzzle pieces and moved them over here. Once I remove them, they become a negative space within the puzzle. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to select a piece. I think I'm going to try, well, if I do that one, then this one's really no longer connected to anything, so I'll lose that one. So I want to try and find one that's connected on at least 3 of the 4 sides. So I think I'm going to try for my next one, maybe this one here. So you decide which piece you're going to move. Or again, you can move 2 or 3 pieces. And what you're going to do once you decide is you're going to copy onto a piece of tracing paper that particular puzzle piece and anything within the puzzle piece. So any lines. So that's what I see in that one. Now once I've done that, I'm going to come and erase the interior of that puzzle piece, because now I need to turn it into a negative space. And all my negative spaces, what I need to do is come along and give them a little bit of an edge at the top of the negative space. So I'm going to come along in here and at the right of the negative space. So what I'm doing is I'm showing a little depth to the puzzle piece. Now puzzle pieces aren't very thick, so I'm not going to make this one tremendously deep. I'm going to take my blending tool and I'm going to blend that darker edge. And then I'm going to fuzz it a little bit and create a little bit of a cast shadow, because I want to fool people into thinking there's a little depth to my puzzle. Now the piece that I removed, this one here, my next step is to take it and flip it over. And I'm going to put the pencil along the back on my lines. And I'm going to do a pressure transfer. Right, we've done these before. Now, see how it transferred right there? If I wanted my puzzle piece, I wanted to show it from the back, I could flip it over and just make this a solid value and do that. I wanted people to actually see what's going on, so I'm going to flip it right side up. And I can lay it back and see this is how it fit in there. So I'm going to move it over here now. And I'm going to trace over my lines again. And it's taking that pencil from the back and placing it onto my paper. And I'm going to go back and darken those lines a little bit so I can see them better. Okay. Now, because this is a positive piece, I have to put a little dark edge. Now it's going to be on the left and the bottom. So it's opposite to what my negatives is right there. Okay. But I'm going to still take my blending tool, get that a little soft focus, and then I'm going to come in and give it a little bit of a cast shadow. So I just want it to look like there's a little depth to those pieces. Okay. So that's all you have to do to move a piece. then this becomes a negative space within my puzzle. Okay, so the next step, after you've did your contour line of your subject matter, you made the grid over it. You turn those grid into puzzle pieces. You moved one or more of the puzzle pieces. The next step is just to shade in your subject matter, just like you would if it wasn't on a puzzle. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at my reference for my lion, and I'm going to start adding my value. So if it's dark in my reference, it's going to be dark in my puzzle. Okay, I'm just matching the values I see. So it's just a typical value drawing. I'm not going to even pay attention to my interlocking puzzle anymore. I just want to shade in my lion. Okay, just like I'm doing a regular value drawing. Obviously, when I come to a negative space, I just ignore it. It doesn't exist there. So when I'm coming along here, I'm going to ignore that part right there. Start his muzzle here. You get the idea. So I'm matching the values in my photo reference, and I'm going to have a nice value drawing of my lion that just happens to be part of this puzzle. Okay, so I'm going to stop the camera and work on my value, and I will come back for the next step. Okay, so I've been working on my piece, and I've been putting my values in and shading it just like I would do any other value drawing. So step 7 is you're going to make sure that the puzzle and each individual puzzle piece has an edge and a cast shadow. So coming back and looking at my piece as it looks right now, you can see that I've been shading, and I have full value range. You want to have full value range in this drawing, from nice dark areas to lighter areas to your mid-tones. Look at whatever your reference is. I also suggest that you put some type of value. I've just used my blending tool to put a very light value in the negative space around the lion in the puzzle. So around the subject matter, you don't want to necessarily leave that just white paper. This is going to make it stand out a little more from the background. So when we say edge, I've already gone and done that here in this negative space where I moved a puzzle piece. In the negative space, remember, we put the edge at the top and on the right, and a little bit of a cast shadow, so you can see that's going on here as well, and here as well. And then on the positive pieces, that's going to reverse, and it's going to be on the left side and the bottom. Okay, so we flip it. So what I have to do now is go through and make sure that I'm adding that little bit of an edge to all my pieces. So this is a positive piece, so I'm going to come along the left side and the bottom. And again, puzzle pieces are not very thick, so I don't want to have too much here. And you can decide the relative darkness of the edge of your puzzle piece. It does not have to be as dark as I'm doing here in the video demonstration, but I want to make sure the camera's picking it up. Okay, so again, I've got another piece here. It's a positive piece, so I'm going to come along the left side. Now sometimes you don't have a bottom. This piece does not have a bottom because it's connected right there. I'm not going to do anything with the top or on this side over here. So I'm going to come along, and you need to do it here. So I'm going on the positive pieces, I'm going on the left side and the bottom of those pieces. Got a little too thick there. Okay, and along here. And then along here, this is all bottom along this side here. Okay. Now, this is a bottom piece over here, so I do need to get that. I'm gonna go up into here and come along here, and then I have another bottom piece over here. So once I've done that and I've gone along my edges, my next thing, of course, is I'm going to take my blending tool. And again, if you don't have a blending tool, you can use a Q-tip for this. And I want to just go back along, kind of fuzz them a little bit, and pull out a little bit of a cast shadow. Now when I do the cast shadow, I'm going side to side because I want to kind of flatten it on the ground, which in this case the ground is my paper. And I'm going to blend that and go side to side. Get that cast shadow and continue that all the way along. My piece. Now, if I think I get too much shadow, I can always go back and take my eraser and clean it up. Because I don't want to have too much of a shadow because, again, puzzle pieces are not that thick. Shadows correlate to the thickness or the height of objects. And we want to stay pretty consistent because, again, we're just trying to fool the brain into seeing what we want it to see. In this case, we want it to think it's seeing a real puzzle. Okay, I'm going to come along and do that over here. Now this is a good time too to take an eraser and go around and just clean up any edges that might still be showing through. Again, it's another reason why we should get in the habit of drawing lightly, because sometimes you just can't erase them. Okay. Now, our last step in this project, or the final step, is to add at least one real object to the composition. So in the examples I showed you in this one, the artist added a pair of sunglasses. And in this one, we're looking at a spider on the puzzle, and they added a real spider crawling across the paper. And on this one, we're looking at a panda, and they added a bamboo shoot. And again, those real objects are going to have their own cast shadows. So you can decide what's going to go in with your piece. For my example here with this one with the lion, I might just add a pencil. If I draw the pencil, it's going to be life size, right? Because I want it to look like it's part of this piece, and maybe I'm going to put a pencil up there. I could add like a little bit of a ruler coming in, or I could have something that I think correlates with this. I was playing around with the idea of maybe a zoo pass or something. But I think just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to draw a pencil up in here. Or maybe I want it coming over this way. Yeah, I think I'm going to add it over here. So when I draw my pencil, I want to be looking at a real pencil as I do it. And I want to kind of look at the way the pencil, try and get it to look as realistic as possible, because that's part of trompe-l'oeil. Okay, so play with this a little bit. Okay, and I'm looking at another pencil while I'm drawing with this pencil, but basically get my values in there. Okay, I'm going to do my pencil. Now, as I do my pencil, I want to look at what my pencil says. This one says Dixon Ticonderoga, so maybe I'm going to add that in. So I'm looking at a pencil here as I do that. Oh, my letters are upside down. That's okay. Remember, letters are just shapes. Okay. And I'm going to shade it, and I'm going to look for its cast shadow. You can actually see it here on the paper. My shadow is going to be right in here, and I'm also going to have a little shadow along the edge of my pencil, and it's going to stay consistent with the same side as my shadows in the drawing. And again, I will fuzz those up. Now, I still have to come in here and detail out my pencil. Obviously, I'm not done with it yet. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to use my ruler here and make this nice and straight. Okay. And it has some value, and there's another line that kind of comes in, so I'm going to get that. Because they're not perfectly round. Pencils have a little edge to them. Now I come in here and crisp up this line where my shadow is. And now I need to add some value to my pencil. So I'm going to try and make my pencil look as real as it can. And again, what that real, and I quote, air quote, real form is up to you. It could correlate with your image, or it could just be something random that you would find on an art table, for example. It could be a pen or an eraser, a ruler, pencil, whatever you choose. Could be your iPhone. Yeah, it's kind of endless. So enjoy trompe-l'oeil puzzles. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And we're going to make it fool the eye.